Good evening. This is All Sports with LD coming back at you with another YouTube post from my YouTube channel. Before I get into tonight's content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I stand corrected. In my preview of this fight, I thought that Canelo would be victorious. I totally underestimated Bivol. I'm very impressed with his performance. He dominated Canelo from start to finish. He kept his composure. He stayed with his game plan. And he outboxed Canelo all 12 rounds. This fight, in a way, kind of reminds me of the first Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield fight. And what I mean by that is, whenever Canelo would try to throw his combinations or throw his hard power punches, Bivol will follow right back up and counter him and go with his combinations or jab, just the way Evander did with Tyson. Every time Tyson threw his best stuff, Evander right away countered him. And so Bivol did this all night long. You can see that Canelo became very frustrated. As I said before in my previous post, Canelo picked Bivol because he honestly believed he can beat him. And so you saw the frustration on his face, realizing that he made the wrong choice. One of the things that I noticed in the ring was how much bigger or larger Bivol was in comparison to Canelo. I didn't realize, it's 6 foot light heavyweight. I didn't realize he was that big. I guess you don't really know this size difference. When you look at Bivol's last fight, the guy was a pretty tall fighter, so you really didn't get the sense of the real size advantage until he faced Canelo. I'm like, as I'm watching the fight, I'm like, this dude is huge. Huge shoulders, huge arms, and whenever Canelo would try to throw his power shots, left hooks, they seemed to just bounce off Bivol's arms and shoulders. It was like to no effect. And Bivol just shook it off, threw right back at Canelo. Canelo got beat up tonight. His face was puffy and red. This was the first time in a long time since losing to Floyd Mayweather that another fighter totally dominated Canelo. And this just goes to show that in my opinion, it was a bogus pound for pound rating to put him as number one, because up until losing this fight, Canelo was picking very easy opponents to chart his path, his legacy, or what have you. And tonight it backfired. I think the Canelo team really honestly believed that Canelo was going to be victorious. And the thing that I noticed about Canelo, even in the Floyd Mayweather fight, he's pretty much a one-dimensional fighter. What do I mean by that? When his power punches, his hooks are not landing flush, he just kind of reverts to a fighter stalking its prey and trying to land that one big shot. That's what he did against Floyd Mayweather, and you saw it again here tonight. He was just kind of stalking Bivol around, trying to throw those left hooks, try to throw those big power punches. Never really tried to set anything up off the jabs or combination or anything like that. And it really goes to show you that Canelo didn't learn anything from that Floyd Mayweather fight, although he says he has. But as I watched him going from the Floyd Mayweather fight to this fight, to me, he's the same fighter that faced Floyd Mayweather. Ultimately, when those power shots don't land the way they're supposed to, he becomes frustrated. You saw it all night. You saw the look on his face, like everything I throw at this guy is not working. Man, it's you can see it on his face. And there was no adjustment throughout the fight. He kept plodding forward, trying to throw those big hooks, power punches, see if he can catch Bivol. But, Bivol took some shots. I mean, he's a bigger guy. At one point in the fight, Bivol stood right there in front of him. Pretty much bullied the bully. And pretty much he was saying, okay, let's do it. Let's see what you got now. You going to throw your big punch? I'll throw my big punch, and we'll see who gets the better of it. And when that happened, Bivol got the better of it. He's just a bigger guy, bigger, stronger guy. I'm impressed with his boxing skills. I'm impressed with just he stayed focused. He stayed composed. He didn't let the moment overcome him. He didn't let his emotions overcome him. He just stayed in the pocket in the moment, and he executed his game plan. I was very impressed with that. And as I'm watching the fight cautiously, and I'm saying, all right, Bivol, maintain your focus, maintain what you're doing. It's working, and I was just hoping that he would keep this going, and I was very happy that all 12 rounds he put it to Canelo. He stayed on his game plan. He listened to his corner, and there was virtually nothing Canelo could do. I'm not sure of any advice that his corner gave him, but it certainly did not look like he was trying to make any adjustments. It was pretty much the same old thing. Plod after him and try to land these big shots and hope I catch him on his chin. But when you come up against a skilled boxer, you're going to have to bring more to the table than throwing those big power punches and hooks and hoping they land. There's just more to boxing to that. And I wonder what the Canelo fans will say now, because they've had a lot to chatter about. And they really believe that Canelo is better than what he really actually is. Like I just explained, he's really the same fighter you saw face Floyd Mayweather. And what happens when fighters rely on their power, all else goes out the window, because I really believe, or they really believe, I hit you with one shot, you're going down. And that tends to happen with those guys and rely on their power, like Canelo. And to be honest, it's really fool's gold when you think of Canelo, because understand that the opponents that he did knock out, really they were fighters that were really not at his level. Again, this goes back to hand-picking certain fighters that he knew he could beat. At times, he fought at catchweights. This doesn't really showcase his power punching. You understand what I mean? The real showcase of his power, if he could have took down Bivol. But you saw it didn't work because this was a much skilled fighter. And I think what Canelo did was, and his team, the knockout over Kovalev, I think they assumed because they did that, they could do it to the other light heavyweight champions. But the problem is, Kovalev is already on the backside of his career. Andre Ward busted him up. Busting him up mentally and physically. So when Canelo gets a hold of Kovalev, he's not even the same fighter pre-Andre Ward. So if you look at that fight in context, you really can't give Canelo credit, because he was beating up a shell of a fighter, former champion. In my book, you don't get kudos for that. Sure, it's another notch on your belt, but you don't really get kudos for beating up a fighter that was already mentally broken and on the backside of his career. So, like I said, I was very impressed with Bivol's performance. Hats off to him. It's a great fight. Great execute of his plan. Totally frustrated Canelo. So, I like what I saw. For now, that's what I have. Have a good one.